What noise is happening right now?
I don't know, some stupid car.
Hello, I'm Rachel Marie. Welcome to my vacation home, by which I mean my childhood bedroom. I made a video about bullet journaling at the beginning of 2020, like the beginning of my journey for my patrons, and I asked if people would be interested in a bullet journal video that's public, and people were like, yeah, and I was like, oh, so here we are. Excited. Bullet journaling has been a game changer for me in many ways, some that I expected and some that I did not expect. For people who have a lot of organizational structures that are separate, bullet journaling can be a really good way to sort of consolidate your organizational structures into one cute little structure. Not all of my life lives in my bullet journal. Like I have like my financial spreadsheets and I have a Google Doc that's a big, huge to-do list, but like my weekly agenda, etc. is in my bullet journal, and a lot of the things that are really important to me live in my bullet journal. I started bullet journaling for a couple of reasons. One is that even if I'm incredibly productive, I convince myself that I'm not productive, and being able to cross things out with my hands makes me believe to a greater degree that I am accomplished and productive. I still don't actually believe that, but we're working on it. And the other big reason is that I work too much. Since I quit my day job, I was spending a really unhealthy amount of time on work. So in addition to capturing all my work stuff, my favorite part of my bullet journal is my habit tracker. I have included habits that are related to work, related to spiritual wellness, related to physical wellness, related to hobbies. And in June of 2020, I added a section for justice-oriented habits. And you will see more of that shortly when I show you my bullet journals. And my favorite thing about doing an update video is that I can show you how I have adjusted how I bullet journal to suit my needs, because everything is adjustable. And that is the other great thing, because I feel like for 15 years of my life, I tried really hard to love planners because it seemed like I really should love planners, and I could not for the life of me find a planner that I liked. And I feel like bullet journaling is just like this really huge secret that like you can just make your own planner and adjust it as you go and make it suit all your needs specifically to you. And I can use my bullet journal in conjunction with my Google Docs and my Google Calendar and my spreadsheets in a way that like really super serves me, instead of trying to fit my life into a planner that doesn't really work for me. And after 2+ years of self-employment, bullet journaling is really helping me prioritize my actual needs and not just like my workflow. Thought, if this video comes out in February, that's okay, because you don't have to start bullet journaling at the beginning of the year. You can do whatever you want. That's the beauty. Anyway, I would like to start delving in by showing you a brief overview of my 2020 bullet journal and how that worked out for me. So, I got this bullet journal in December of 2020, and I wondered if I would regret it because it has a deer on the front, and I thought maybe I only got the deer because it was Christmas time, but I never regretted the deer. I got my bullet journal from a company called Dingbats. I will link to them. So, got my key, got my index. These are sort of key factors in bullet journaling. Also, caveat, I am not like a bullet journaling expert or an artistic expert. And some of the things, I don't really follow what anyone's rules are. And that's the great thing, is you can do whatever you want. Anyway, some key things, some key aspects are a key. You might know what all these things are in your head, like to do and started and migrated, meaning you didn't accomplish it in a certain week, that it's a task, and you moved it to the next week. You might not even want or need to write any of these things down, but for me, I like to have it because I like to be over the top organized. And the index is also just like super heckin' helpful. One of the things that really helped me out was highlighting in the color that I used for my weekly spread in any given month. I highlighted that month in that color in my index. That's been really helpful to me. So a lot of these sections I kept the same. In my 2021 journal, I also have a goals and intentions section, a dreamlining section. There is like a website for dreamlining that I will link to. I didn't actually go through the whole thing, but I like the sections of like to do, to have, to be. That seemed like a really helpful way of splitting things up to me. So even though I don't like dreamline, I like the word, it's cute, it was fun to write. So I kept these things, but like for instance, this big ideas page that I thought I was gonna use to write down my big ideas, I just didn't. I wrote those in my big work agenda, you know, my Google Doc. That's my Rachel Marie agenda. I didn't use this for big ideas. It wasn't helpful to me, so there isn't one in my 2021 bullet journal. The year at a glance is funny because it was like, I didn't do anything in the second half of the year because COVID. Like, not that I didn't do anything, but like, I have a feeling that this section will be a lot more helpful to me this year. These sections I kept. The gratitude section was one section that I ended up changing, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. Therapy notes I ended up changing as well. As you can see, I have censored some things that are personal information because you don't have to know everything my therapist knows. Song seeds I also did not keep because I have a separate songwriting journal that made more sense for me to put my songwriting ideas in. I did a lot of just like cutting down space in my 2021 bullet journal. Like the beginning of every month in my 2020 bullet journal has this page that's the beginning of the month and this left page that's blank. And towards the end of the year I was running out of space. And also sometimes I would do something really simple like this and then I would just feel bad about it because it didn't look crafty. And then I was like, okay, it doesn't make me feel good. And it's taking up space that doesn't need to be taken up. So like, who cares if other people on the internet have pretty beginning of the month pages? Yeah, you know? So at the beginning of 2020, this was what my weekly spread, ding, looked like. I had a week of scheduling tasks and appointments and events across these two open pages of my bullet journal. And it felt nice and spacious, and I thought, not that much even fits here, so I can't overwhelm myself and be doing too much. And to some degree, that was true, but then throughout the year, not only did I realize that at the pace that I was going to fill up my bullet journal before the end of the year, which sounded scary and icky, but it also seemed like there was a lot more space than was necessary. I could use this space more efficiently. So in August, I started putting a weekly spread on each page left and right. And that felt really good for a while. It definitely felt better than taking up all that space and being worried that I was going to run out of space in the entire journal. And as you can see, this page is actually a really good example, I think, of changing things as I went. So my first weekly spread, I had all this space for Saturday and Sunday. Obviously wasn't using it at all. So on this other page, on the second week of August, I gave myself more space on weekdays and a little bit less space on Saturday and Sunday. But eventually, as you hopefully can see in November, this started feeling squished. I did finish out the year with this setup, but sort of already starting in November was feeling like I wanted to find a compromise between a weekly spread across two pages and a weekly spread on each page. It was really refreshing and cool at the end of the year to have something to go back and take stock of. I've never really been like an annual goal setter. When I quit my day job and started really just being a freelance musician, I didn't know what kind of annual goals to set for myself at all. So it was really refreshing at the end of 2020, even though it was a weird f***ing year, to be able to go back and have something concrete and tangible to take stock of. So I was really excited to journal a little bit sort of about what my year looked like, and that bullet journaling really did help me sleep 8 hours a night more often, lower my overall monthly consumption of alcohol, see when my consumption of alcohol spiked, why that was. I've also sort of updated how I'm tracking my alcohol consumption and how it makes me feel in my 2021 bullet journal, which I'm super excited about. And I told myself I did a good job. And part of what allowed me to do that, as I said, one of my favorite parts of bullet journaling is my habit tracker. I got really stoked when I had the idea of putting my habits for the year in the back of my bullet journal. So like I've got my habit tracker, for instance, for June here, and I have these numbers down the right of the total number of times I did all these things in a given month. So I took all these final numbers from June and I put them in the back of my bullet journal in this column for June. And I can track when things went up with a little arrow and when I was excited about things with a little heart. So let's jump to my 2021 bullet journal. Okay, so moved on from the deer to a polar bear, booping a narwhal. Speaking of narwhals, baptism, documentary, highly recommend. Yeah, so I stuck with Dingbats. I really, really like this notebook. One of the upsides of this one is that I didn't realize that Dingbats made notebooks with 2 bookmarks. That was like one of my biggest complaints about this one. Also, the bookmark fell out, so it'll be less rough. Most of the time what I will do is have one bookmark on my habit tracker for any given month and one bookmark on my current weekly spread. The only thing that I don't love about the narwhal booping journal as opposed to the deer journal, and they're just from different series, is I really like creating my own index instead of an index being provided for me, because if I had my own index, I would have more space for pages in case, like, oh, oops, accidentally I forgot about some financial goal thing, so there's also some financial goal stuff on like page 74. I would rather it be more like an index of a book where like you search a term. It's not that big a deal. I really like this notebook. These numbers are my brush pens. For my habit tracker, I use brush pens for these markers down the side, and so in my key, that's what those numbers refer to, is the number of the pen.
That's smart. I'm probably gonna do the same thing. Because then you can keep it uniform.
Right. I'm not accidentally using the wrong purple.
Right, which I would scream about.
Right.
So
right.
Thank you for that idea.
There are certain things that I do scream about, and there are certain things I don't scream about. Like, clearly I've got whiteout everywhere, and like, I don't love it, but trying to be nice. Trying to be nice to myself. So as you can see, one of the things that I kept is using the brush pen that I used for my weekly spread in any given month, putting that in the index. Things that I had at the back of my bullet journal that I really liked, so I kept, were the annual habits. And I also have a section of affirmations, which my therapist suggested I keep, which is great. I've got affirmations that Louie wrote me, but I also have my own affirmations. And these I basically just copied and pasted, but with hands, from my 2020 bullet journal, because they're still relevant, but I want to leave space for more. And I also am trying to get more deliberate about tracking how alcohol makes me feel and not just how much I'm drinking. And so I have a section for alcohol takeaways that I'm really excited about. As I said, I kept the goals and priorities page and the dreamlining page. My journaling of takeaways from the 2020 bullet journal really informed my goals and priorities for my 2021 bullet journal, which is great. It's like we keep growing and learning from ourselves. Some of the dreamlining things to do to have to be just kind of rolled over, some because pandemic, like run a 5K with my friend Will, didn't happen. So that I'll go for this year. Additionally, having 50 plus patrons didn't happen for myriad reasons, so I'll still go for that this year. And then there are some things that are just fun, like 730-day Duolingo streak, because I already got a 365-day Duolingo streak, so we're gonna go for another year. 365-day New York Times crossword streak already didn't happen. I lost it. But I could still get like 330. Who knows? For me, it's a really important exercise to have some goals that are not CERS goals. The year at a glance section I obviously kept. To read and to watch, I just made a lot more space because I used to take up 2 lines with everything I wanted to read and to watch, and I thought to myself, heck, I want to read and watch a million things, so I left more space for those. So again, already in 2021, I've already done a lot of messing around with things like my weekly spread. I was starting to track my alcohol consumption more specifically, whether I'd had water, what my mood was, what kind of drink I'd had, and how I'd slept, and it just took up so much space. For 3 drinks to take up that much space seemed like a lot, so we adjust. I fill out my weekly spreads 1 month at a time. So all of my weekly spreads for January have the same structure. So my compromise between having a weekly spread that takes up 2 pages and 2 weekly spreads, 1 on each side of the page, has so far been having a weekly spread that takes up about 1.5 pages, and instead of having separate gratitude pages, including my gratitude in this extra area, and also being able to track my alcohol consumption and how it makes me feel and how I'm sleeping in this area as well. Also, something that is particular to how I do things, and other people may do things differently, is at the beginning of a given month, when I make up all my weekly spreads, there are certain tasks that I assign and put on their given day from the beginning of the month. So for instance, my Patreon schedule is consistent enough that I will always put out my cover suggestions post on the first Monday and put out a poll on the second Monday. So I'll go through and put those things on those given dates, and that applies to things like demos and YouTube videos and covers as well. I have particular days of the month that I aim to do those things, so I assign those things at the beginning of the month. So for instance, MailChimp Write and Schedule has been in this spot since the beginning of the month. Patreon Write and Schedule February Essay has been here since the beginning of the month. I have already decided to migrate that task to February because I'm currently at my parents' house in Pennsylvania, but I would rather write my February post from home on Monday. So I have reassigned that for Monday. The rest of the weekly spread that has not been filled out at the beginning of the month, I like to fill out at the beginning of the week to sort of fill up each day, some big ticket tasks, some smaller tasks. And as you can probably tell, I don't always do things in order. Clearly, since all my Monday tasks are done, some of my Thursday tasks are done, a Friday task is reassigned, and Tuesday and Wednesday are like, what? So right now, it is Thursday the 28th. Oh, and I should fill in bullet journal vid. You know from my key that a slash means I've started. I've started my bullet journal vid. What part of my bullet journal vid have I started? I've started filming. See? Doing it. Also, I've got this Manhattan. So I had a Manhattan with dinner. So that's why this says 28th. Top hat, that's a top hat because for reasons I don't need to explain here, I refer to Manhattans as Manhattans. So it's like a hat, Manhattan. So that's my code. I should put that in the key. Since my Manhattan at 6:45, I have had water. And during and after drinking that Manhattan, I felt smiley. Since this is another Manhattan, I don't need to draw another top hat. I can just squiggle. Samesies. What time is it? 9:09. So I'm gonna write down 9:10, because that's when I'm gonna start drinking this Manhattan. On the last Monday of any given month, I set up my weekly spreads for the next month, and so this is another good opportunity to see that I have already adjusted for February. I forgot to put my habit tracker in between. What am I doing? But I've already readjusted for February because for Saturdays and Sundays in January, there just wasn't a lot. Like I had church, I had my family Zoom, I had reading assignments for myself, but like my gratitude section went up into my Saturday. So I thought, let's keep the rest of the weekly spread that is so far working really well for us and just squish Saturday and Sunday. So even when it's Maddie's birthday and then Grandma's birthday, Saturday and Sunday are not squished at all, and now there's even more extra space for gratitude and tracking my alcohol. And there are also things that I created entire pages for in my 2020 bullet journal that I just don't need. I created a whole page for therapy notes, and I think my therapy notes I can just write in a purple pen. And I also, because I am me and I like being color-coded, I use the same colors that I use for my categories in my habit tracker. I use those same colors to cross out tasks that I have accomplished. So work tasks, I fill in pink. Personal life stuff, I fill in purple. Anti-racism reading assignments, you can't probably tell that that one is filled in orange, but it is, because that's my like justice-y section of my habit tracker. I'm really stoked about how my 2021 bullet journal journey is going already. Louie, have I left out anything important? Do you have any questions or concerns?
I think I always have concerns. Did you like come up with your initial structure like entirely on your own, or did you like look at things beforehand and be like, I like this thing, so I'll use that, and then just like adjust it? Or
in my 2020 bullet journal video, which I will link to in the description, I give most of the credit to Elena Joy, who is a YouTuber I really love. She makes a lot of queer content and also bullet journals, and so I was like, one of my favorite queers organizes her mind this way. Yeah. So I took a lot of my structures directly from her, and I actually watched 2 of her bullet journal videos. Like I watched one and then another one that was exactly like this, that was like, and this is what I changed. This is what didn't work for me at all. So I had both her ideas and also very much implanted the very important idea and fact that I could switch anything up at any given moment and make it serve me more fully. And she also uses Dingbats notebooks. Like, I just got all my ideas from Elena Joy. One of the other things that I forgot to mention, sort of like about freedom and switching things up, I did mention that I added justice-oriented habits, specifically anti-racism work, to my habit tracker in June, but I also wanted to reiterate that even something that can seem as static as a habit tracker, like I'm trying to track all these habits throughout the year, I added things and I took things away and I started phrasing things differently. For instance, I didn't have a strict Patreon schedule at the beginning of the year in 2020, and then I made myself a strict Patreon schedule in May, so it was unnecessary to track how many times I posted and how spread out those times were because I had a schedule for it. So I just totally cut Patreon from my habit tracker in May of last year. I got jump ropes in May, so I added jump rope in May. I added wood splitting when I started splitting wood in April. I added meditation partway through the year. And even things like visual art. Partway through 2020, I switched to be art/craft, and in 2021, I have kept that as art/craft. Treadmill and walk, I no longer have as treadmill or walk. I'm counting walking as a different thing. I'm counting walking as getting out and breathing fresh air. And so the treadmill doesn't count. I'm not tracking the treadmill for like getting my steps in. I'm only counting actually taking a walk as walking now. One of the other things that I sort of wanted to mention is one of the interesting things about the habit tracker for me is when I started tracking any given activity, the amount that I did that activity spiked. So in that way, keeping the habit tracker in general was really good for me. But I've also been messing with how to encourage myself to focus on habits. So for instance, as you can see here, I wanted to focus on piano. So I drew this rectangle on piano and I wanted to focus on running and walking and no alcohol and daily text and visual art and read in Spanish, but that didn't seem to really light a fire for me. So later in the year I started setting specific goals, like I want to do guitar 13 days this month and do yoga 26 days this month. And that has been sort of a toss-up for whether that's effective for me. So among other reasons, that is why I didn't set any goals for January. I want to see sort of just having my habits written down. How much have I done them? And once I learn how much I did these things in January, then set achievable but stretchy goals for February based on what I accomplished without having set goals for myself. So that's one of the fun things that I've been playing with a habit tracker. So I hope your stay in my vacation home has been worthwhile and enlightening maybe, or helpful. I hope your stay in my vacation home has served you. If you have any questions, let me know. If anything was confusing, let me know. Because probably I'll make another one of these next year and we'll just keep learning and growing. So thank you for watching. Usually I make music, so if you're interested in that, you could subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I make music or post stuff like this. Or maybe another fake cooking tutorial. Who knows? If you want to have like a big, huge say in what kind of video I make next, go patronize me. By which I mean give me money on Patreon and not condescend to me. Please don't condescend to me. You won't get priority by condescending to me. And if you want to tell me what to sing next, go to Patreon and become a $5 patron and make a suggestion for what I should cover next time. Maybe that's the end. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bullet journaling is really helping me, Alexis. Bullet journaling is really helping me, and now I'm David. Bullet journaling is really helping me.
This is good.
Who was that?
This is
Jocelyn?
It was, yeah.